All right. Let's see. We are working on having combat make sense. Let's see. Working on combat. Working on combat. Okay. Let's see. Dura. Okay. Okay. I think, let me think here. So we have 3 roles in the party. I'll just increase the size there for a second. We have Dex. Oops. So the same stat, each stat can have a different context or meaning for each role. So for example, dexterity for a tank means dodge, but dex for a put this over there. For the DPS means multi-strike, right? And then I did revisit the Pyroclasm support class, and so I do think I want to bring some of that in here for how we want to treat our support, which is essentially a bard. Okay, so that's what I have here, right? For tank, it's DPS for tank. Okay. So when it comes to strength, increasing the armor increasing the strength for a tank is the equivalent of, like, say, armor, which ultimately means like essentially damage reduction. Whereas DPS, it'll be kind of a damage increase. So for our support class, any skill or something that would boost strength for the whole party helps a lot in that equation. Let's take less damage for our tank. Let's do more with our DPS. Vitality. So I think, what did we do? Vitality is essentially constitution or endurance, right? For a tank, that can translate to kind of the health or the hit points. For the DPS, it's again multi-strike in the sort of actually there's probably a better there's a better way to excuse me. There's probably a better way to explain this. Endurance for the DPS is essentially multi-strike. How many times can you swing your sword per round before you get tired, right? For dexterity, it may be more of a, can you strike in such a way, at such an angle, changing quickly to do more of a critical hit. Yeah, I'm going to take a look at what we had written up for Pyroclasm, because I feel like we had worked out some of the stuff there, and I forgot it. So damage, specifically DPS, the strength is could affect obviously strength, but also damage, but also the critical damage maybe. We have dex, we have strength, we have vitality or endurance, and we have the last one. I guess in Pyroclasm we had armor, and for this it was damage reduction, and then for armor it was how did the DPS do that? It was like a defense, like how to basically resist effects. So actually, a better way to do that would almost be like a defense rating, where the tank, you could translate this to be some sort of like stance you're taking. Excuse me. And the DPS, this is your ability to dodge, not necessarily attacks, but yeah, effects and stuff like that. Because no one's attacking the DPS, but things will try to hypothetically slow you down. Armor, yeah, make you weaker. Vitality, endurance, multi-strike, strength, damage. Critical dexterity is more of an accuracy. So we have like a right, your 2 hit, and then as we get into our skill tree, you'd get like a critical hit. You increase your damage, and then you'd get your critical multiplier. Vitality, yeah, this is your multi-strike. Good. I feel like that is. I quit a couple things right now. Okay. Okay. Get all that in the window for you guys. Tank stance, and then let's see. I'm just looking at the notes we had. So for the support class, we do like vocals and the instrument, and then we essentially have songs, right? And if we copy this from Pyroclasm, vocals affects the duration of the effect. Let's see, duration. Yeah, of the multi-target boost. So this would affect, okay. And then single target boost duration, multi-target boost duration. And then we'd have songs that could do one or the other. Chance to trigger, big reward, small reward. So what are we doing here? We can increase base stats, or even do like a multiplier, but that could be like affecting the tank or the yeah, we could do that. We can target the tank, the DPS, or both. We can do specific skill enhancements, like increase the dodge, the crit hit, stun, something like that. Increasing the base stats is probably the best way to affect the most amount of things, because almost everything will derive something from your base attributes. But if I wanted to have a more substantive effect on dodge, crit hit, or stun, then this thing would just affect just that one skill. And the way we originally were talking about this was that an instrument or vocals would go off at the beginning of combat, and then the combat may take X amount of rounds, but the song might only last Y amount of rounds. So that's why increasing the duration, your endurance on either singing or playing the instrument matter, because at some point, if the combat's going on too long, you're going to lose the boost from the song. So there's a reason to invest in how long the spell effect will take how long the spell effect will last, because you and the mob will just go round and round and round until one of you is defeated. And The logical part of my brain, excuse me, the logical part of my brain thinks that like a song, you can only sing one song at a time. The song could have both the vocals and the instrument, right? But you can only apply one effect at a time. Now in the game, essentially, would all of these songs matter, or should you pick one? I think it might be too much micromanagement if you had to pick, hey, when I fight the goblin, I want to use this particular song. So instead, if we just say, hey, all of these songs or melodies or passive bonuses, it invites you to invest in multiple of them. So I think one is, I'm trying to think. The duration, what did we have here? A single target boost duration. So in the original, in Pyroclasm, we had empowerments, which are multi-target boosts, and then infusions, which were single target boosts. That made a little bit more sense because in Pyroclasm, the party was 4. So you had 3 people that could be your target. And here we just have a party of 3. So there's just 2. It's just going to be either you're empowering your DPS or you're empowering your tank. Oh, we could just do that, right? Vocals is the duration for how long the effect. Yeah. Duration for tank. Duration for DPS. So I'm going to play a song, for example. Just for example, a song. What's it? The Hymn of Winter. Hymn of the Winds. And it's going to give +1 dex per level to the party. But if vocals, yeah, we'll just say if vocals is level 10, then our tank gets, and if we'll just say if gets, excuse me, if Hymn of the Winter is level 1, and vocals is level 10. Let me scroll that down so everyone can see this. Then the tank will get +1 dex for 10 rounds. But instrument level 5 means that the DPS gets +1 dex for 5 rounds. So the bard has essentially played a song, and the 2 DPS or the 2 other players have heard it at different effect levels. Okay, there we go. And then you can just have any number of songs. So you would want to try to keep these, I imagine, try to keep those equal, which is fine. There's just 2 sinks for your resources. And then the songs themselves. Cool. Okay. So I think that's how that will work. Go ahead and quit that for now. We're gonna quit that for now. Okay, good. Yeah, I think I'm happy. I think I'm happy about that. So, okay. Now for the equation, we have. Okay. So if we were going to take an equation, so that's how our tank. So now let's work on our combat equations. So essentially you have any of your items. Any items with strength will provide damage. And I think what I'll do is that they provide damage. They provide strength. Okay, so what I'm thinking here in my mind is, for example, is my weapon would provide like 2 strength per level, whereas my gauntlets would provide 1 strength, 1 armor, or defense as we call it. So if I was to upgrade these both to level 2, right, or yeah, it'd be 2 times 2 plus 1 times 2 plus, and then this would be if you had any bonus from your bard. Right. So right off the bat, this is just 4, 5, 6. 6 strength total. Okay. So if you wanted to increase your damage, you would upgrade your weapon more. Right. So we calculate, calculate total strength. And you could get it, you could get more granular later. You could say, hey, the weapon has a minimum maximum damage range and stuff like that. Or a skill that increased your maximum damage, right? 6 strength just establishes like a base damage. And your min damage is your base plus min, and your max damage is your base plus your min plus your max. So that if you're, for example, 6, and then we say we had a skill that increased our minimum damage by 1, then skill provides plus 1 min damage, then your range would be 7 min, 7 max, right? But then we had another skill and that provides plus 1 max. Well, now our range is 7 to 8. Okay, and that's how we would calculate damage. Great. You just roll between those 2 numbers. Okay, so we calculate strength, we calculate damage. We need a probably like a 2-hit chance. So something to do with the dexterity versus their dodge. And let me think. It's probably like a 2-hit to hit versus dodge. Both of these to hit are going to factor in your probably your dexterity plus if you have any skills for improving to hit, versus dodge, which is going to be their dexterity versus any of their skills that affect dodge. Okay, and that's going to say whether or not you've hit your target. And this will probably be one of the biggest things that will cause a plateau for player progression, because as long as you're hitting your target and they just have strong damage reduction, you can increase the damage and keep grinding away, right? As long as you last in that fight. If you are just missing the target, increasing your strength won't help. You'll have to increase your dexterity and your to hit. Yeah. Okay. To hit versus dodge, so that's your dex. Oop, let me get back on screen. So that's that phase. Now, assuming you've hit, right? You either miss and then you're done with that, or you hit. And now you have to calculate. Now you need to basically reduce damage based on their armor. And I suppose many games have like a pierce, which would negate damage reduction. I don't think I'm going to have some pierce in the original release. I could. Let me think. It actually wouldn't be that hard, and we'd fit it in where we talk about strength. Yeah, this right here. So strength would affect damage, but you'd also have maybe like a skill or someone in here for piercing. Oh, piercing actually would also help with this. Knowing the armor's critical points. That's why you would upgrade the defense, your own DPS's defense rating. Okay, so you have damage reduction and you have pierce. I like what Elithor does, which is if you've completely negated, like if you get your pierce so high that you've negated their armor completely, then it gives a buff to damage. Buff to damage if armor negated entirely, and that makes sense. It also encourages folks to continue to invest in a pierce. Okay, so and then we deal damage. So it would be something like if we do something like initiative, where there's like a speed mechanic, right? I don't think it matters. I don't think it's going to matter too much. The order of combat is going to be that the soul buffs the party. Then I think it's going to have to be dexterity based. I'm trying to think, because in Pyroclasm, the tank could set up something for the DPS, right? You could stun the mob, and then the DPS comes in. I could have it based off dexterity. I think for right now, the loop is just going to be the tank and then the DPS. And at this point, soul is just a buff, right? There's no healing or additional DPS provided by them. They're essentially doing their music. So we're just in this loop. Many games that just have a single character, you have combined your health and your damage, and then it's just you against the opponent until you've exhausted the hit points, one or the other. And here I still have that, but it's represented as two different characters. Your tank is your health bar, and the DPS is the damage per round. So that's just the loop. So now the question is, who goes first, you or the opponent? And I think just for right off the bat, we'll just have the player always go first. And then then there's the enemy. And the enemy will... It doesn't need to be represented as a party. And at the same time, it could be... What did we want to do? I'm trying to think. How do we do this? I like Elithor, where each round you fight one enemy. If you defeat that enemy, a second enemy shows up immediately. If you defeat them, a third. And that goes on until you hit your max kills, or until you finally get defeated. I think this scales nicely. If you're a very strong character, you can come into a little, a goblin stronghold and just wipe out a certain amount at a time. So if you needed to kill 100 to fill the bar to increase the tier on this particular dungeon. And I guess this is what Elithor has with its tier system. Someone coming in being able to take out multiple enemies at a time will fill that bar faster, and I don't think there's a problem with that. The second enemy is stronger, right? Is stronger, and the third is stronger until max kills. Okay, yeah. I think that works out just fine. And each round you would do this. So sorry, each tick. So this right here could be you fighting an enemy, like you fighting that first enemy. That could be 10 rounds. And that second enemy, that could be 15 rounds. And so this is why it's important. That bard only triggers the buff right here, right? And then you enter, so I will say pre-combat. And then you enter combat. And then you repeat, I'll scroll that up, repeat rounds until you're basically out of health or reached max kills. And then finally you will end combat and get your total reward, which your gold, we don't have experience in this. What we have is, I guess it's progress towards filling the bar. You could call that, I guess, experience. It's not that the party is leveling up, but the region, the combat quest in the region is getting complete. Get total reward based off total mobs defeated. Okay, there's our combat loop. There it is. And then you would just repeat it. Enter combat. And okay, exit combat. And then here, right? So the thing is that each mob calculates, you need to calculate damage, dodge to hit, damage reduction, and see how your hit points were affected. Okay. Good. That makes sense. Okay. So I think we have that. So let's take a look at our app for a second. Let me just close that. Okay. Let me go ahead and increase the size here a little bit. Go to party. All right. Let me see. How does that look? Cool. So the level 1 Warhammer, and I think we're just gonna we're gonna change this around a little bit because here, let me close some of these windows I don't need. Bugger and style. Close that. In the items, the Warhammer is going to give strength, and it's going to give, let's see, stat per level. I think we're just going to have it, so this will give 2. Excuse me. And there's probably a better way to do this. Because we have the helmet, the greaves, the shield, the plate, the gauntlets. Greaves is giving dex. Helmet, will is not going to be in here. Plate mail is going to be vitality. Right, because we want to keep in mind we have 4 attributes. Strength, dexterity, like an armor. Yeah, I'm going to call it armor. And then our sword character is the cap, the 2 long swords. Okay. I think I know what I want to do here. I'm going to change around a little bit here in our data structure. Stats. And I'm going to do it like this. Stat, let's see, it's going to be type, strength, and I'm going to do kind of amount is 2. And that means what I'm thinking here is that each level that you do Warhammer, this is what it adds. But now if I go to, let's see, a good example would be my shield, Greaves, let's see. Be dexterity. And plate mail is going to be, plate mail's example, we're going to go 1 for armor. I'm going to call it defense. Defense makes more sense. 2 for defense, or actually, sorry, 1 defense. Defense and vitality, so 1 of each. Our helmet is going to give every piece of equipment, and this is what we also did in Pyroclasm. Every piece of equipment affected 2 excuse me, 2 stats. So the helmet won't affect, I just need to keep these in mind. Here, let me write them down. Just a moment. Okay. Strength, dex, defense, and vitality. These are a nice quick reference. So if I take away some of these other skills just for right now, as us playing around with how to do some additional sub skills. I don't know, I just put in an extra comma somewhere. There it is. Okay. So our Warhammer gives 2 strength. And I guess in a small way, the tank could also deal damage. I guess that's what we're saying. I think that's fine. Makes sense. They're in there as well. Shield. Let's see, let me grab this whole strength thing. Yeah, let's just put this in here for a sec. So strength and defense. Defense, vitality is the helmet. The plate mail is defense and vitality, so we have quite a bit of damage reduction. The gauntlets dexterity. Oh, I see. This right here, and the stats, this would be, I guess gauntlets would be strength. The thing I don't like about this, what is the plate and the helm the only thing affecting hit points? Okay. And then going back to my notes, for the tank, dex affects dodge, strength affects armor, but then so does defense. Hold on. Let's just take a look at the Pyroclasm. What we said there for the tank. Oh, strength is like bash and stun and improves armor reduction. Armor straight up damage reduction. Yeah, strength is the ability to pull off tanking moves as well. Dex would be dodging. Yeah. Okay. So you would want to increase your strength so that you could do moves, not just hit points, but actually do things like that. So let's see. In our items, the Warhammer is straight. Yes. So we're not necessarily doing. We are not dealing damage with our tank. The Warhammer is there as something that can help facilitate stuns and stuff like that. Okay. Defense. And dexterity would be, dexterity would help like a dodge, a parry, right? So this is why it'd be just fine for the or a shield block, right? So dexterity is also done by the shield. Anything that would help you dodge the so shield. Then the helmet, we'll put defense and vitality, I think is fine. Shield, sorry, the plate mail, defense and vitality. Okay, kind of want to make that one mostly vitality. Yeah, we'll do that. Greaves, that's your boots. And your gauntlets, I'm going to say, are strength and what, defense? I think that'll play out well. And when I have all this stuff render out on the screen, we'll be able to see a little bit where everything is. Okay, now when it comes to here, this is for your DPS. Again, your longsword will be 2 strength per longsword upgrade, but your short sword, I want 1 strength and 1 dex. You're upgrading that smaller sword, you can move faster, you'll be able to hit more times. The cap, now thinking about what the DPS needs to do. The DPS dex is to hit, critical damage is strength, and possibly eventually, I think we were talking like let's see, pierce is the defense and resist effects. Vitality is the multi-strike because that's the endurance. So what I want to do here is, again, boots are going to affect dex in a big way. The gloves, I'm going to say vitality. Do we have leggings? We don't have any sort of leggings. I'm going to put vitality. I'm going to put the cap as defense. So for the DPS, your ability to sort of pierce and do that, your defense, which is going to be your probably your weakest skill. Your lowest amount will be your defense when your DPS. Dex and strength, you're going to need good dex for your 2 hit. So you have dex there. Vitality and dexterity. Let's see, vitality. So your boots are going to be important. Your gloves, that's your vitality, that's your endurance. I'm going to say your jerkin is going to be strength and vitality. Oop, come on, double click. Sorry, Dex and Vitality. So our DPS has 2 ways to boost strength. To boost Dex is 1, 2, 3. To boost defense is 1. And Vitality is 2. So I think we want to make sure we're hitting just 2 things to boost damage. People are going to have really big weapons, I imagine. Okay. Okay, well, we'll see how that is. So far, that looks a bit balanced. Now, for the vocals. These are going to have to be custom. The way the bard works is going to have to be a bit have to be a bit custom. All right, just a second. Let's see. All right. And I think for right now we don't need to touch those. Well, the Warhammer using strength, yeah, is your ability to do, yeah, pull off stuns and blocks and stuff like that. Good. Yeah, and you need to unlock those skills to be able to do that. Let me think. Right out the gate. Strength is only, it's going to give a minor damage reduction. Well, it's going to give a fair damage reduction because it's going to affect that. So damage reduction is both your defense rating and your strength when you're a tank. Okay. Cool. Okay. So what I want to do here is in the party item upgrade. Kind of want to hide this for now. Just hide that. Level 3 Warhammer. And do something like this. +2 strength level. Just get some basic basic description in place so we can start a beta test next week. Plus I feel like I could do this programmatically. Let's try that. Let's see, where was I printing out description? Right there. And why don't we just do this? In the div, we'll do a span, and we'll do a v4 stat in stats with a key of type. and we'll just print out the stat. What is amount +1 stat space the stat type, close the span, close the div. I need to add stats to this, and that's going to be an array. Excuse me. Let's see, span stat. There you go. Nice and easy. So we don't need to duplicate stuff in the description. We don't have to have descriptions just listing the stats. What we will do is, let's put a class on this. Class text uppercase. So everything appears uppercase. And we'll also do a okay. We'll make just part of that bold a little bit. And part of me is like, can we just shrink down the text size a little bit? It doesn't really need to be. I think that'll work fine. Text capitalize. Let's see. Okay. Now, let's do something in here that says something like let's do this. Was it level is greater than 0? Is it where you upgrade, and then otherwise it's going to be unlock else. So it should say unlock or upgrade, and the whole section if it's not disabled. So the moment I unlock one of these, let me put that VF somewhere else. I guess there, yeah. And then I want to mute that whole section. If I've chosen bash and not strike, I want it to be a little smaller. Warhammer level 3, I don't want it to be font weight bold. In fact, I'd like it to be small, margin start, small. What does that look like? maybe the text warning is just on this. And what if this was actually like a badge? How do we do that? We do span badge, BG secondary. We'll just do for now span. Oops, span. Let's try that. What don't I like about this? I'll figure this out later. The badge I'm not in love with, but I do like putting it at the end like that. Warhammer level 3, and we could put a little bit more padding there. There you go. There you go. So strike level 1, level 0, and then I would only do this. We would v show if the level is greater than 0. So what I would do is upgrade, strike or bash, unlock, right, and then strike would just fade away. I'd love to. How could I mute the whole? Trying to think. If the player has chosen to do bash, strike really isn't that critical to what you could do. I don't want to necessarily hide it, because I think the important things with skill trees is, you know what I'll do? I'll stop making it yellow though. Yeah. Let me see. I'll make text warning. So I think, yeah. I want a player to be able to see a full skill tree so they can respec whenever they want and understand what it is they missed out on, or if they want to respec. But I also don't want to confuse them. I want to draw their attention away from something that they have chosen not to engage in. So the text warning is going to be if it's not disabled. Let me put that there. So if I upgrade, and I upgrade again, both are available, but the moment I hit bash, yeah, strike loses its color. I think that's pretty good. Oh, I can even do a little bit more. Hold on. What if I did can I mute it? Yeah. So it's still there. And I can also do it on the description part. Let me capture that. So it looks, it's a little harder to read. Is that gonna work? I have to refresh maybe. Let's see. Oh, I need to put it on the description as well. So let's see. Okay, so I upgrade, I select, and the whole thing fades out. I like that. It looks very much like you cannot select that. Okay. So now if I upgrade again. Okay, I'm gonna take a screenshot of this, just so I can. Oh yeah, I'm showing it. There we go. Oops, I want to get the whole. Okay. Yeah, I'm pleased. I'm pleased with this. Good. Let's see. Hold on just a second. Okay. Excellent. Well, I'm pretty pleased with this. What is happening? Oh, it's just because unlock is a smaller word. Upgrade. And the nice thing is here, let's just look at bootstrap icons. We could do something with sprite art, but eventually something like, one of these for the upgrade would work well. The unlock, you could also do something like that, the first time purchase. Yeah, right now I'll keep it with words because it looks pretty, it looks fine. Right, the goal right now is to get something shippable, not necessarily something that has the absolute best interface. This is how it would look, say like here, let's look what it would look like on mobile. This is an iPhone 12. Let's see, a Samsung Galaxy, Surface Pro. Let's see, a Galaxy S8. Okay, so that looks a little cramped right there. I've got a lot of padding on the sides. Hold on, let's go to this party view. What's going on? Let's just take a look. I'm losing quite a bit to the side. It looks like it's because there's two containers, maybe. Here, if I go into app, if I get rid of, oh, there's a freaking padding 4 around the whole router view. Okay, let's do this for a sec. Let's comment this out and see what happens. A padding top 3 and then a padding 4 around everything else. Of course, there was a reason at some point where I did that. So that looks better. The padding, so I can definitely agree the padding top should be, and just to put some space between the router view and the, so that looks nice. Let's look at the iPhone. Hold on just a second. Let me just look at, yeah, this looks good. Let's look at the iPhone. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. I think I'm going to have to get rid of the footer because I don't think I can link to the Patreon and Coffee. So for the mobile app, it would just not have, and of course the development box won't be there. It'll end. So I think that looks nice. Regions. Okay, so this is where we need a little bit of padding. And that's simply because I haven't put the same. Yeah, party has a nice container wrapper, but the other ones don't yet. So let's go ahead and add that in. So if I go directly into, or I'm just curious, if I just put the container up top. No, because do we want container or container fluid? I'm going to handle this on a per view basis. So right now I'm happy with, I was thinking I could add the functionality for choosing portraits for the party members. That would be awesome. I think because putting, okay. Yeah, Renzai. I think, okay, how long have you've only been here like a couple, I don't know how long you've been here. Probably just a minute. Yeah, okay. So I got this. I re-rigged up the items. Here, let me show you the, well, you can see them. There's now an array. So just like we were planning for Pyroclasm, the items can give a boost to 1 or 2 stats. In this case, Warhammer gives a great deal of strength. The shield gives a little bit of defense, a little bit of dex. That's a per level sort of thing. So what is now communicated here. For these, it also has the ability to also write a description in addition to printing out the stats. So yeah, so when I upgrade and then those pop out, and here's an example of it saying the description. But for example, strike doesn't need to affect attributes at all. It could just be the skill. So it says unlock. It doesn't say a level yet because I don't have it, so it doesn't say level 0. Now when I hit unlock, strike fades out. I have muted text completely on strike. Bash, and then I can upgrade, and the next one comes down. There you go. So I think this is much more clear than we had it. I like still showing the full skill tree so you understand what potentially it is all there, but now it's also clear what you have enabled and what you don't. What I also wanted to show you, Renzai, make it collapsible. I think you could probably have something up at the top that was just like hide my yes, put a toggle there, whatever, hide the inactive skills or hid, whatever, and it would just render and then not show the hidden ones, like a show full tree with a toggle, right? In the roadmap document at the bottom, I had to go, I went back a little bit to Pyro and made sure I was mapping over the attributes to what we wanted of them, how, like what dex means for what dex means what does strength mean for tank, what does strength mean for the DPS. So all of that's laid out. I also came up for a conclusion for how I want the bard, the soul character, to work. The vocals affect the duration for the tank. The instrument affects the duration for the DPS. So the example, the songs themselves have an effect. So if you play Hymn of the Winds, if it's a level 1, it gives plus 1 dex per level. So if your vocals are 10, the tank will get that bonus for 10 rounds, but your instrument is only level 5, so the DPS will only get the same bonus for 5 rounds. So I think that's just how I'll have the bard character work. I also came up with the combat equations and the combat flow, including similar to Elithor, where you defeat multiple mobs. The one change I think we're doing slightly differently than Pyroclasm is I'm just going to have that progress bar be like 100 goblin kills. Right? So if you're only able to kill one goblin per tick, then it's going to take you 100 ticks. If you come here and kill 10 goblins in a tick, then it'll only take you 10 ticks, right? The progress bar is essentially going to be the number of kills that you get. And so as long as you're getting at least one, you will progress that bar, right? Just like Elithor. The soul character doesn't actually enter combat. Doesn't. It's a character that just provides buffs and is just then out. So then we're only basically, the tank is doing their skills, the DPS is doing their skills, then each mob in combat will do their skills, and then we'll go to the top. And not each mob in combat. There's only going to be one mob at a time. That's it. And then we just go until you've either hit your max kills or until you die. And then you get your rewards of gold and progress for the combat quest. That's it. So with that, I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back to this and just get this looking and working well. Yeah, and I think it is. But yeah, I think if you want to bring in the avatar selector, also I realize now with stuff like this, like the Warhammer, it says level 3 and then it just says +2 per level. So it doesn't say anymore that the Warhammer is giving you 6 strength. We could put that back in there, but I just think there's so many elements here. I do think like the character summary up at the top of just what is your total strength, what is your total hit points, what is your total dot, just like your stat sheet right there at the top. A nice little stat table would be good. And then the same thing for sword and the same thing for soul. So I think I will enable that. But yeah, this looks good. And then the same flow with this little indent thing. We'll do the same thing for regions and for the upgrades here as well. And I was just in the process of adding in the container to a couple changes I made. They're on the master branch. Main is no longer called main. It's called tavern. There we go. That looks nice. Regions is next. Am I showing? Yeah, I'm showing the game. Container. We're just going to put some containers on these divs. And then I do like the idea. Yeah, I like the idea of you being able to select who your party is, the avatars. And then when we get into combat, we'll have a spot to show their 3 little avatars. And I think that'll be fun. I gotta go into combat and add in. I like that bit of personality. Did you want to just use the one I've already taken? Yeah, hold on. You want to just use the ones I've already taken? Yeah, the one you've already built for Pyroclasm. We should just bring that over. All of that stuff we're licensed to use. So I'd like to just take it. What I think would be good is if we reserve. If you can reserve like 4 or 5 that we don't think characters are going to choose too often, we can make them our tavern upgrade folks. That way they just look different. Yeah, that way we have 4 set aside for the tavern. Because I think that'd be pretty cool here to see a little character. And then the rest of them are available for folks. For how many to choose for each role? I mean, I would just let them pick any for the shield, any for the sword, any for the soul. It doesn't matter. I don't think there should be pictures that are specific to a particular type of role. Let folks customize as much as they want. And to be honest, at the end of the day, there's really no problem if they actually selected one that was the same avatar as the Deed Master. There's really not a problem with that. It doesn't functionally change any of the game, and at no point do you see the Deed Master and your own character at the same time. So there's really no harm there. Okay, so that all looks good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and save my work. This is let's see, notes for combat and the party tree restyling. And the reason why I was restyling is I'm looking at this. Let me close some of these. I'm looking at the party thing, and I've got the nested stuff in here, and I'd like that to be cleaner. I will say we should bring in the character summary. And put it right below. So I have a component here. Oops. What is this? Why isn't it saving? Save. Called character summary, and it's not doing, what's it doing right now? Oh, it just spits out all the stats. Cool. But yeah, it doesn't have stats anymore. So this made sense. This made sense when I guess we only had one character. Here, I'm just gonna do this. Get rid of this Vuex tie-in right now. We're gonna want the portrait. Hold on, why is this yelling at me? Character summary. Character summary is right here. Oh, is it because it's in the party folder? Yep. We'll just go close that. So we're going to show a portrait. I think we should also show a description. The portrait you could click on to change, and then we'd have a summary of stats. So that's right there between the select and your first skills there. Let's widen that up a bit. I don't actually like this part. There's some, I guess this is a, what is this, more of like a flexbox sort of thing or something like that. We need to kind of probably solve that with the gap right there. But I mean, that's just the bootstrap row. But okay, so that's a start. Good. Oh, I've also put in a style guide button down here in the debug for a view for us just to work out certain styles. Though I will throw in now a container. Yeah, and I think container is probably going to be the way to go. I understand container. Sorry, container fluid is nice, but I think for a game like this at the moment, this just looks good. It helps with the mobile because we're not getting too far away from mobile. Party. Yes, and I guess the next part is I have to work out what character summary would need, because those are the calculations, the computeds that you would need for combat anyways. Okay, just give me a second. I'm gonna get my water. Oh, I think I'm a bit blurry. Yeah, I've probably been blurry for a little bit. All right, let's do this. There we go. All right. Womp, womp, womp. Right, and then you're just selecting which one of these to do. And I think right off the bat, well, this is where we'll gate it with the quest, right? First, go to my region, upgrade the one, right? Okay, now boom, now go to your party, upgrade, you know, your Warhammer once, great. And then as soon as they've upgraded their Warhammer once, cool, go into combat, select your goblin, right? As soon as that level 1 goblin feels cool, now you've got your first heroic point. The only one of our upgrades available will be the Deed Master, and you buy your first deed. Yeah, it'd be a nice little sequence there. Cool. And oh yeah, I just wanted to push this stuff up. Okay, yeah, everything's pushed up on May. Oh, hold on. Yeah. Okay. Push origin. Oh, I should also put in the link for the wiki. Push origin main. And I probably have to, I'm gonna change around the footer here. I think I can probably say, what is Dura linking to right now? The Pyroclasm repo? Oh no, it's linking to the IQ RPG calculator. But I will say we're developed by Slyboot Studio, and then I'll link to the wiki. I probably can't link to Patreon and Coffee, but I think that's fine. And what are we doing? Get brand, okay? Get checkout. Phase 7, get push origin. Checkout main. Okay. I can work on the Doxify site this weekend. Great. The Doxify site's created. We just want to strip all the IQ RPG stuff out of there. And we should have the basics of what we need. The most, yeah. I think a bit of a walkthrough would be the most important part. Then just kind of some explanation, and that'll be a nice thing. Like when we first put it out, without any kind of graphical enhancement, or I mean, whatever we have at the time, we'll just ask, like what, after 5 minutes of playing, what were your, we should put together a nice, like a Google survey, right? After, what were your first impressions within the first minute? What were your first impressions after the first 5 minutes, 15 minutes? And with our beta test group, it wouldn't be a bad idea to warm them up to the fact that we will be asking them these questions about their play session. So, right, periodically, so that we can say, what was the most confusing part, what was the most kind of confusing part initially versus hold on just a second. Versus say 15 minutes in. I think that'll help a lot with let's see, just a second. Look at it. Cool. And yeah, and then because again, the objective of next week is to run the beta, collect the stuff, figure out what we can fix before we publish, right? Get any of the kind of the glaring errors or most amount of confusion done so that when we go live, we've at least addressed the most critical issues and ask the question, are we ready to go live? Are we ready to go live? I'm hoping, gosh, like part of me is like the procrastination or the blocker, the anxiety is like, don't do combat, because the moment you do combat, you then have all of the major sections of the game done, right? But until we do combat, the game is still in a work in progress. But we'll just do combat, and then, because I mean the tavern thing, you can buy these things. This stuff all works. The party system all works. Now it's just combat. Once combat's in, the full cycle, like not everything you upgrade does what it is gonna do, but the core mechanic of spending currency and getting something back, that does work. Let me see. Okay. So, yeah, regions I think is just fine. Party, again, just fine. Combat. I think what I want to do is I'm going to do the character summary here. And the reason why is not the graphical part that you want to work on, Rinzai, but the calculations for the stats, because that is the next step for what combat needs. And it makes sense to put it right here as you're updating your character. So, and I realize, yeah, this is what I've been wanting to show. Okay. So what we're going to do is close this stuff. I'm in my character summary. Yeah, and we're just going to do this. Okay, summary of stats. It would make sense that okay. Just figuring out my evening here. Okay. So I could do this as a loop, but I probably let's just spell this stuff out here for a second. I think it's important to call out what are the strength, the dex, the vitality, and the defense ratings. I think it's important for the tank, right? For the tank, you'll want to know your dodge chance, your block or stun chance. Yeah, I think that'll be fun, right? You kind of use that shield to block initially, but as you get better skills, you're not just blocking the blow, but you're actually kind of like countering it and stunning the them. Okay. What else? Right. Vitality. For the tank, you'll want to know your health, your total hit points. So that takes care of dodge. Oh, and then armor reduction. Okay. For DPS, instead, you'd be showing your 2 hit, like your accuracy. Let's see. Just a second. Okay. Let's see. You have your 2 hit, your crit chance, and your crit dam. Of course, as a DPS, you have your damage range, and in addition to that, your multi-hit. And the way multi-hit or the multi-strike is going to be is for every 100% you go, that would be an additional strike. So if you have 50% multi-strike, you have a 50% chance at a second strike. If you have 150, then you always have a second strike and have a 50% at a third strike. Oh, hey. Hello. Oh, here, let me switch back over to the... Okay. Oh, I guess I was showing that. Yeah. Right up there. We're just talking about what we need to display on a kind of roll-by-roll basis in this party. Let's see. Okay. The DPS. And then for the soul, with just a support class, I want to see tank duration and DPS duration for the effects. And I don't know what else. I think those are going to be that. Well, I think this is going to be... We're going to write the most amount of description here, I think, for the songs the bard can sing. So it's going to be hard to summarize what exactly the bard is doing, as opposed to the tank or the DPS, where it's the result of an equation based off their stats and skills. The bard is going to be a little bit different, but that's fine. These are the functions we need to now write to come up with these summaries. Okay, so that's good. All right, let's see what we can do here in the next... I say I have about an hour. I've already been streaming for an hour and a half. Let's go for at least another half hour coding and see how far we get. So let me see. Our party view pulled items by role, and that's fine. And what are some of these? The items are the equipments. It's the things to upgrade. What we need now is we need to loop through those and figure out their multipliers. All right. Well, we may have initially a little bit of duplication of code, but we will figure out how to optimize at some point. Premature optimization is something we absolutely want to avoid. Developers, they get stuck just trying to future-proof for everything, and they end up not making as much progress on their project as they should have. Rinzai, remind me though, right now our store is once again not broken into modules, and we will want to fix that by the time we go live, just because it's going to be a pain in the ass to do anything with this. Yeah, items by roles. So, all right, let's just grab the state right here. State.items. Oh yeah, state.items by this dot role. Oh, and this is gonna need, I guess, a parameter. Role. Okay, there you go. I guess we just calculate. Okay, because I need to have a function that I can pass in. Actually, this is going to be interesting. I need to have a function that will work for both the mobs and the characters. Okay, so I guess we're going to do calculate stats. I think we need like what are the raw stats? This being the stats I'm thinking. For mobs and the players, we start with strength, dexterity, vitality, and defense. If we can start with that, all the other, I guess you call them skills, right? These are the skills. These are the stats. So let's just start with how to summarize all our upgrades into stats. So if we get items by roles, I think, what is it? It's getters, and then if I just get what is it? Getters, items by role, and I pass in a role of shield, and I say let items equals, and then return items. Let's see if that works. I put a comma there. I transition back here. Let's just do this. Calculate stats. I'm just going to print some stuff to the screen here in the character summary. I'm going to go ahead and import map getters from Vuex, and in a computed, in a computed, calculate stats. Let's see, what is it? It's going to be ... map getters parentheses bracket calculate stats, and then I'm just going to print it out here. Let's see what it wants from us. Is it angry? It doesn't know the getter calculates stats. Did I put it in the right place? Did I put it in getters, or did I put it one? I put it, oh, these are one level up. Whoops. Cannot read items by roles. Okay, hold on. What did I do wrong? I'll transition back to view here for a second. Vuex getter calls another getter. Let's Google that. How do I get a getter from another getter? State comma getters. Yeah. Oh. It's just, what is it? Just getters. let's try that. Getter's items by role is not a function. Let's see. And we need to look up getters with parameters. A vuex getter with an argument. So item by role is this, and there's a state, and there's also a role. I think that's how. There. That's how that works. Let's see if that worked. Call getter in an action. It's, yeah, the call getter in an action, but I'm not in an action. I'm in another getter. Yeah, the commit comma getters. In this, essentially, it's like this, right? It's similar. It's like state and getters. It's going to be angry that I'm not using state, I imagine. Yeah, state is defined but never used. Here, I'll just console log it and then it will be used. The issue is that it cannot find items by role. It needs to be the second argument, state getters, right? Isn't that no, oh, without the like that. Okay. Hold on. Items by role, but it's not. Oh, state items is not. Let's see. Yep. Why is it not? Why is this returning a blank? Oh, because I don't want state here. State items is only the total number of updates. I want the getter of items, because the getter, that's where you mash up with the static values. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, so items by role filters just the items related to the shield. And then what I can do is, fine, let strength equal items. What I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to map through here or reduce. Something like that. Ooh, I need to do a reducer where the item in its stats, and we're gonna filter. This is gonna be crazy. I need to figure out which of the stat. Yeah, look at this crazy thing. For each item, we have to go through the stats, and for each stat, I need to find where the stat type equals strength. Okay, here, I'll do this a little bit like the strength in this item. Okay, here, I'll rename the variables a little bit so this is easier to figure out. This is the total strength. This is an item, and this is, we'll call this one local strength or item strength. Okay. So we're going to look through the, oh, and not a filter. I can just do a find, right? Through the stats for the one that equals, yeah, yes. Okay, okay. So now item strength is going to be if, yeah, if item strength. If item strength. What I want is let, I may only return the first one. It will only return the first one it finds, but if we've constructed our items correctly, each item only has 1 or 2 stats, and those stats should not be of the same type. Does that make sense? There should only ever be 1 strength stat on the item. The reducer is what's going to go through each item in the whole array and return back the total. This is the item strength object. Let item strength amount is, we're going to start off at 0. If the item strength, if we have an item strength object, come on, double click, then item strength amount is equal to item strength object amount times item level. Okay, and just to show this like a little bit, I'm just gonna show this so it's part of the recording here. What we're talking about is, like, for example, our Warhammer. We're looking through stats. We're looking at this. This is what item strength object is right now. It's just a type and an amount. That's it. And then we're going to multiply that by whatever our level of our Warhammer is. And that's going to be the total strength provided by the Warhammer. And now that should, in terms of what the reducer needs, let me see. A reducer needs a previous and a current, and then it returns something and has what, the starting amount? Okay, let's try this. This is crazy. This is going to need some debugging. I'm not super good with reducers. So it's not just item here. You have to do previous and current item. So current, so this just becomes current. Okay, the current item, and then right here, the previous. So previous isn't the whole object. Previous is just going to be a number. Current, this is where like ES6 and some of this JavaScript stuff gets confusing. Previous is just going to be a number, but current is going to be an object. We start at 0. Okay, we don't have to return item. Oh, return items is up there. And then we're just, yeah, previous plus, and then I guess I just return, sorry. I guess I just return previous. And we get rid of that. Oops, hold on. I put a comma? I swear to God, is this it? I'm gonna hit save. It doesn't like that. Oh, this is ugly, isn't it? It's terrible. I love when professors do not do that. You were getting legal. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, we don't need the extra parentheses there. Okay, total strength is the total strength. Calculate stat. And then I'm just going to put the total strength there. Item, where's item? Oh, it's going to be current level. I think this is pretty cool. Let's see if it worked. Holy shit. Okay. What does this mean? Okay, let's check this out. It's saying 3. it's just saying 3. And I think that's correct, because we have a level 1 Warhammer and a level 1 what's the other thing that gives us the, here, I'll transition here. And let me get rid of this so you guys can see it. Just for a second, I'm gonna do all this stuff as, ooh, you know what? We'll just hide all this stuff for a second. There we go. Wham. And we'll just do this, H1. No, yeah, we'll do an H1. Nice and big, 3. Okay. That 3 should be, because we have a Warhammer level 1, which gives us 2, and the gauntlets level 1, which give us 1. So 2 and 1 is 3. And now we can see why reducers are fun. Right? All right, now let's try to upgrade this shit and make sure it works. When I hit upgrade on Warhammer, this should go to 5. There's the 5. There's the 7. Okay, but if I upgrade gauntlets, it should only go up by 1. 8, 9, 10. And I'm just gonna say, guys, I don't know, for people that fucking love JavaScript, like, I don't know. Like, I get it. There's a reduce, there's a fine, there's a, I don't, ugh. I mean, that is pretty cool. You just return this, and then that gets passed into the next, like, it's not quite recursion, because it's not quite calling itself. It's a loop that's keeping track of a value till you get to the end. It feels it is powerful, because the way you would do this before is you would just have some variable outside of the loop that you would just increase as you went through the loop. I mean, all we did here was change the syntax on something like that, right? So I don't have to declare another variable. The end result is I'm processing down to a single value. But it's not like we couldn't have done this before ES6. You would have just kept track of strength, then you would have done a for loop, and in this case you would have done a for loop and then another for loop, right? To find the strength value, and then just added it. So there's definitely part of like my legacy developer brain saying that like this is convoluted, like, because part of it's like you could have just done this with 2 for loops, but then there's also part of it's that part of me is that's like we've invented a new function here that, like, find is incredible. Like, find is so easy, right? And it's the same thing, right? We could have just gone through a for loop until 2 things match, and then there we go. But find is convenient, and yeah, reduce is nice. I'm just not used to it, right? I think one of the first reducers I ever wrote was just this one up above that boiled down your gold. It goes through all the regions and then just figures out how much gold you should be getting per tick. So what I'd like to do here is actually we need a function that's just like get attribute, and we pass in strength, right? And what we do here, this whole reducer thing doesn't need to be here. We want to create a function get attribute, or stat, right? Because we've been referring to this as stat, get stat with the stat value. There you go. And return amount. We'll let amount equals, and then let's see, we'll just do the underscore stat here as the name, and then we'll match it there, and that should all work. Oh, I need to pass in the stat, and I need to pass in the array. Get stat, and then get stat. So that should work the same. Hold on. Oh, and I need to pass in items. And then I'll just return strength. Yeah. Now what I want to do is return strength. And what I want to do is calculate all 4 stats. Strength, dex, vitality, defense. Come on. There you go. Ooh, I like that. I like that I can just do that. Oh, you guys don't see it. I like when, so this line right here, return strength, comma dex, comma vit, comma defense, but then what the object is then created has both the key and then the value. I really like that about like ES6 and the spread operator and stuff like that. Okay. So we are now able to calculate our stats. And if I just do these upgrades now, if I upgrade helmet, I mean, this is super cool. This is super cool. Great. Great. Okay. Okay. So now we've got our stats, and then we could do functions that were like, okay, sorry, what was our other things we'd like to do? Let's go ahead and focus on just the tank stuff. So let's calculate, I think maybe, we'll do one of these functions. I may steal that function. Are you talking about this? The reducer? Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very pleased with this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay. Sorry. Function, and then I guess like I get. I guess I've been doing this for a couple hours, so now I'm at a pretty good stopping point, because I feel like if I was going to return, I would want to do all the remaining functions. So I think I'm going to call it for right now. But the next part is completing the combat loop. So if we go to the README, not the README, the roadmap, ignoring ignoring the buffs right now, we need to calculate the stats and skills for the tank and DPS, and then run through the what did we do? Here's we calculate total strength, we calculate the min damage, max damage, calculate the to hit versus the dodge, the miss, whether we reduce damage, potentially if we integrate pierce, that could negate damage reduction by armor, then we deal the damage. So all the logical steps of the combat round, that's what needs to come. So the next part is simply completing what the tank and DPS and enemy need to calculate for their attributes and skills, then applying that in the game, the combat loop, and getting to the end of the combat loop. Then we provide the reward. All of that triggered off the tick, and then we're done with at least that milestone. Yeah, considering the amount of time spent, I think we're still. what is it? Today is, so this is 2 more hours. Yesterday was 1.5. I think we're maybe 12 hours into this game development. Maybe. That's 3.5, maybe 15. Yeah, I think it's still pretty small. So yeah, I think once we get the graphics in here, that'll be amazing. We are, and there's even probably some sprite stuff we could do for the regions, just so when we do this, there's some variation between them a little bit. But get Vic on that music. I know. I'll see. There's probably some like royalty free stuff we can put in the meantime. But yeah, once we have this, I really think like what by tomorrow end of day we should have. You should be able to go to the website and just play, because combat will then reward the heroic point, and the heroic points should, at least you could spend them. The most important one that we need to get working, the only one that we need to get working really tomorrow, is going to be the deeds, so that you can get additional regions. That's it. All right. Thank you, Rinza. I will let you guys know. Join the Discord, follow the progress on the Discord, and we'll go live next week. Awesome. See you guys.